Hello, and welcome to another episode of Sum of Our Parts, the podcast where two friends talk about the movies that add up to make us who we are. I'm Lindsay,
And I'm Jim.
and this week it is Jim's pick. So, Jim, tell us about the movie that you had us watch.
Science fiction classic, and it's Alien from 1979. I came to the big screen, directed by Ridley Scott. And I think probably one of the precursors to the strong female lead movies,
Hmm.
with the character of Ripley coming out as one of the main protagonists. So
Hmm. Hmm.
very enjoyable. I remember very vividly seeing this movie in the movie theaters when it came out in '79. I was in Richmond, Virginia, and saw it with a friend of mine. So on the big screen, and it was, if anyone's seen the movie, there's some pretty disturbing scenes in the movie, and then a lot of big shots and big effects and so on and so forth, which was really paid out on the big screen. So
Yeah.
made a big impression. Scared me, that's for sure. So, and I was tough though. 22 years old, and you're sitting there with one of your good buddies, and you jump up out of your chair and stuff almost every 10 minutes or so. So, but it was a great movie, and I think it still holds up to this day.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, I had
So
not seen it
I was just going to ask, have you?
before yesterday when I
Oh,
watched
okay.
it. I am not a scary movie person. The closest I ever got to a movie like this was like Independence Day came out when I was 6 and I watched part of it with my dad and
Hmm.
like could not handle it. So I think that Alien would not perhaps have been the movie for me. Also, like I had a friend who would watch Predator when I was at his house when I was a kid, and I would sit in a chair that did not face the TV
Ooh.
so I could avoid it. But yeah, so like this kind of movie was never for me growing up. Although, like, as in my older age, I can handle a little bit more. Like, Cloverfield came out when I was in high school,
Okay, that's a good move.
and I saw that with friends. And that movie's more like, honestly, that movie's more like, I don't know, but exercise in motion sickness. A lot of, because it's like the person like carrying the camera
Hmm.
and like running. And then the Quiet Place movies. So I think I figure, I can handle those now. I could handle this. I think it's more of a sort of jump scare thing than like an ooky spooky haunting ghosty thing, which are things that I still cannot handle. So I hadn't seen it, but it was a good movie, and I can see why, like you said, it holds up, and it's like a precursor to like the other movies that I named, right? Like I think
Hmm.
without Alien, there's no like Cloverfield and Quiet Place and stuff like that. So
So, and I appreciate you watching the movie, and getting past, whether it's a scary movie or not. But I think, it's a very suspenseful movie, and it's not just a science fiction movie to me.
hmm.
It's not a space opera. It's not a bug. They used to call the movies from the '50s about aliens, bug movies.
Hmm.
About the scary aliens. But there's a lot more to this, I think. And if you look at the director, Ridley Scott, the other movies that he's done that he went on to do after this one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well
Uh,
known for action movies, big movies, movies on a big scale. So,
yeah. We can talk a little bit about what those are. If you somehow don't know who Ridley Scott is,
shame
I'm
on you.
sure you've seen at least like one of these movies. His debut film, this is like his only like his second
Hmm.
feature film. His debut film was called The Duelist. It came out before this, but he's done the other Alien movies. He did Blade Runner, Gladiator, and the forthcoming Gladiator 2. He did Black Hawk Down, Thelma and Louise, which I think is like a little bit of a tonal departure. The Martian, G.I. Jane, Hannibal, Matchstick Men, Kingdom of Heaven. More recently, he's done The Last Duel, which I think was sort of widely panned. He did House of Gucci, which
Mm.
is a silly movie. If you want to see a movie where Lady Gaga and Jared Leto are in a comedy and Adam Driver is in a serious movie, you should watch House of Gucci.
House of Gucci. Okay.
And then Napoleon is the most recent one, Napoleon, where Joaquin Phoenix played Napoleon. But yeah,
Okay.
and then Gladiator 2 is coming out later this year. But yeah, I think like you said, Ridley Scott is someone you think of with a sort of big, like
Hmm.
large scale mostly action kind
Yeah,
of things. So I think that this is, although what I think is funny is a lot of this is very contained, right? Like most of this movie is taking place in a pretty small space
it
physically.
is. Yeah, there are scenes and so on, and you do get an idea of the vastness of the ship. It
Yeah,
takes the
yeah.
Nostromo, but you're right. Then the action narrows down
Hmm.
to yeah,
It gets like
and
smaller and smaller
smaller and
until the very
smaller.
end.
Exactly. So we'll get to the scenes like it's almost claustrophobic at times.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
there's small enclosed areas where there's not a lot of room to maneuver. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the opening scenes and then also some of the scenes where they go off of the ship and then but
Hmm. Also, I wonder, this just occurred to me that when you were saying that, like the opening scenes when it's just sort of panning through the ship,
mhm,
it reminds me of like, I haven't seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, but I've seen like pictures from it, and it
it's
does kind of remind me visually of
it's very
that.
reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
That and when it shows the ship moving through space,
Mhm. Mhm.
it also reminds me a little bit of Star Wars at the beginning, the
Mhm.
opening scene where the battle cruiser is chasing the small ship and
Yeah.
it's the vastness of the ship, because it seems to
Mhm.
take forever for that to come through the screen. And the
Yeah.
Nostromo seems like that, the name of the ship,
Mhm.
but by the way, for those of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like early, like when you see the Star Destroyers like come into frame
Hmm.
in
Right.
Star Wars. Yeah.
And they're, kind of, it's like takes, it
It's
just
it's just like
pans.
forever like going past. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So if you want to open us up and lead us through the sequence of events that is Alien.
Sure. So, as we said, we kind of opened seeing the ship, the Nostromo. It's a like a towing vehicle. So it's like a space tugboat, I guess. And it sort of we're just panning around like empty hallways and areas of the ship. And then there's kind of noise and it's sort of awakening, right? All the screens are firing up.
Hmm.
We're getting what sounds like a radio signal. I also commented here that like the music doesn't sound like scary music.
No,
It
yeah.
sounds like the best way that I could describe it is like the music in Harry Potter. That's a little
Hmm.
bit like magical, like like that sort of like
I never
it's
thought
just like,
about that.
oh,
Yeah, you're
what's
right.
going on? Like that. It's like
Mm-mm.
it's upbeat in tone, but like a sort of like, ooh, there's like magic happening. Like that's kind of the vibe of it, which I thought was interesting because I do feel like sometimes when it comes to like scary movies, the music, the soundtrack, the score, like plays
Mhm.
such a big part in like that mood. So it was just interesting that this started with like music that didn't necessarily give me like scary. I mean, obviously it changes throughout, but that was just an interesting like where the tone was set at the
No, you're
beginning.
you're absolutely right, and yeah, because another movie that we reviewed, Jaws, music plays such a big
Mhm.
role in
Mhm.
how that mood is. So
Yeah. Yeah.
good point. Good, yeah,
So,
good pickup.
just things I noticed. So then we see the crew, they're in their little sleep pods. They open up, they start waking up. This is the first time we kind of see the cast, everybody, and this is the whole cast. I mean, besides the alien, but this is like the full human cast and cat. So they eat together. They're all kind of like smoking, eating, chatting.
And
There's an
did you
orange cat named Jones.
did you think it was odd that they were smoking on board a spaceship?
I did because I was like, presumably, like the oxygen
Yeah,
is
limited,
limited. Yeah, like
or
so.
the chance of fire inside of a
Right.
spaceship.
And we know that there's flammable things because, spoiler alert, they use them.
Hmm. Yeah, but
So it does feel a little irresponsible for everybody to just be puffing away.
and it's not just one crew member, it's like several who are,
Yeah.
just evidently are, it's nice to see that nicotine still has a place in the future.
Right. Right. Well, if we want, maybe we can pause here since we have the cast, maybe talk about who's who.
And I wrote a strong cast. It's a very strong
Yes,
cast.
for sure. So we'll just kind of go through. Again, this is just the crew of the ship, basically. So Tom Skerritt plays Dallas, who's the captain. Tom Skerritt, you may recognize from a previous movie we talked about, Steel Magnolias, in which he plays Drum Eatonton, who is Julia Roberts' father and Sally Field's husband. But he was also in Top Gun, MASH, Picket Fences, The Dead Zone, Cheers, lots of things. So all of
Lots
these
of
people
things.
have like a million things that they've been in. The sort of next in line is John Hurt. He plays Kane. He's the executive officer. I know John Hurt best as Mr. Ollivander, the wand maker in Harry Potter. But again, he's been in everything. I think the other thing that I know him best for, which is a big difference, is the Elephant Man.
Elephant Man, yeah.
But he was in 1984, Midnight Express, some more recent movies, Contact, V for Vendetta, Snowpiercer, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Again, he's been in like a million zillion things, so just look him up. You've seen him in something you have watched, certainly. The next person.
To say in one of the worst Indiana Jones movies ever.
Oh yeah. He was in. I purposely didn't write that down.
Thank you. Sorry. So
the next person is Sigourney Weaver plays Ripley, who is the warrant officer. Sigourney Weaver, again, you probably know from this movie. She was in the first 4 Alien movies. She got an Oscar nomination for the second one, which is called Aliens. She's also been in Ghostbusters. That's like, for me, what I know her from. Also Galaxy Quest, another sort of a space parody movie, which is hilarious. She's been in the Avatar movies. She was in Working Girl in the 80s. Again, a lot of things. I also read that they were almost going to have Meryl Streep play Ripley.
Really? I did
Yeah.
not know that. That'd
Could
been
you
an
imagine
interesting-
that?
Maybe. What?
I
Because
just
they're about
never
the same age, right?
I just never think of Meryl Streep as like an action person primarily.
I could see her doing that, I think.
Yeah. So she was, I guess, considered, but like her partner died around this time, so they were like, "Oh, let's
Oh.
leave her alone."
Okay.
But I think that they thought about her for the role. But that would be interesting. Just it's always interesting to like imagine these other
Yeah,
people.
to imagine what other, if another person doing the role, because Sigourney made this her own. So.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. Speaking of that role also, so Veronica Cartwright plays Lambert, who is the navigator. And apparently, I guess she read for the role of Ripley and they were like, "Okay, you're cast." So I guess apparently in her mind, she was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'm Ripley." And then she shows up and they're like, "Oh no, you're Lambert."
You're Lambert.
Like, she didn't know until she arrived for like wardrobe fittings that she was not Ripley. It's like, Ridley Scott, you couldn't tell her. But she had been in some movies before this. She was apparently in The Birds as a child.
Yeah.
She was in the 70s version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Right Stuff, The Witches of Eastwick. I know her because she's in the movie Just Married with Ashton Kutcher and Brittany Murphy.
Oh.
She's Brittany Murphy's mom in that movie. Because I was like, I recognize her because she has those sort of like big eyes. And she's also been on episodes of Criminal Minds, Law and Order Special Victims Unit, and ER, which are kind of my bread and butter of television. So next is Yaphet Kotto plays Parker, who's the chief engineer. He is one of the people smoking like a chimney. He is the villain in the Bond movie Live and Let Die. He was also in The Running Man, Midnight Run, and he starred on the television program Homicide: Life on the Street as a detective.
Excellent actor. So
I think he was my favorite in this movie, to be honest. I mean, obviously, like Ripley, we root for Ripley, but I liked Parker.
Oh, he had he brought a real down to earth, I think, performance to this, where he was, even though he was the engineer, he wasn't like the real super smart science guy. He was he got his hands dirty. He's the guy that basically kept the ship running.
Yeah. And I think like the way that he like reacted as events unfolded, I was like,
pretty much.
I'm kind of with him.
Yeah.
His assistant, the engineering tech, Brett, is played by Harry Dean Stanton, who, again, for me, he's Molly Ringwald's dad in Pretty in Pink. but he has also been in 4 billion things.
Mm-hmm.
He had a cameo in the Avengers. He was in The Green Mile, Paris, Texas, Cool Hand Luke, Godfather Part 2, Repo Man. Like, we could name a million. I don't know if
He's
you have any you want to add.
he's one of the great character actors
Yeah.
of our time. So
Yeah. Paris, Texas was one of his only leading
leading
roles.
roles. He was in Red Dawn. Yeah, he played one of the father of one of the boys in Red Dawn. So his
Yeah.
biggest line was "Avenge me, avenge me." So when he was being held in a prison camp.
Nice. And then finally, Ian Holm plays Ash, who's the science officer. Ian Holm, known to me as Bilbo Baggins, old Bilbo Baggins from the Lord of the Rings series. His face when he sees the ring and gets a little crazy is forever etched into my brain. The scary face. But he was also in Chariots of Fire, for which he was Oscar nominated, I believe.
As
He's
the
in,
trainer.
yes. He's in The Fifth Element, The Aviator, Brazil, Dream Child, the 1990 Hamlet, where Mel Gibson is Hamlet. From Hell, that's another movie I've seen him in, where he's a surgeon in England during the time of Jack the Ripper.
Oh, okay.
It's
I've never
a
seen that
movie
movie.
where Johnny Depp is an opium addicted detective trying to find Jack the Ripper. But it's a whole conspiracy of like the Freemasons. And Ian Holm is in that. My memory of him is always being a little scary.
Who, Ian?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I always thought of him. I always remember him from Chariots of Fire, and then although in this movie it was a different persona, but yeah, he's sort of played always to me a lot of the kindly, gentler old man, or wise mentor sort of guy. But
yeah, I think of the scary Bilbo face and From Hell. I've seen Chariots of Fire, but I don't like. I've only watched it once, and it was in college, so I don't. He didn't stick in my brain.
Okay.
I just think of like the running, the slow running with the music.
That and the score, yeah.
Yeah.
From
yeah.
Vangelis.
And I just remember I watched it because it was a Catholic film series. So I'm like, oh, he wouldn't run because it was Sunday. That's like, those are the things that stick in my mind about Chariots of Fire, like running on the beach and stuff. Anyways, so that's who's here. The computer of the ship, they call it Mother. Mother has woken them all up because they got a transmission. So Dallas goes to look at the computer. It's a very interesting little room.
You would think in this technology, it's like he's going into a phone booth almost.
Yeah.
To me, a sort of a real fancy, sophisticated phone booth, but that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, in the 90s, everybody had a computer room. There was like one room where there was a computer and you had to go to it to use the computer. So even further in the future, there was the computer room.
That's
but
true.
This one is like a little, it reminds me of like, the thing at Epcot, the big white thing?
Yeah.
It looks like that, but like on the inside. And it's just
the
full
geodesic dome, or whatever they call it. Yeah.
Full of flashing lights and like various screens. And he just like types like questions and then Mother answers them.
That was the other thing. It was the interface is so well, but looking now, but I guess back then that was the only way you could communicate was by keyboard. But
it's like, no, hey, verbal. What's your message? And Mother is like, here is the message. So they realize that they got a signal from a nearby moon. And it's almost, they're really supposed to be heading home, but they're like, okay, it's sort of protocol. If we get a signal, we got to go investigate it. That's like our rules based on like the contracts we signed with the company. That's what the company. The company, yeah. So, which, and I sort of thought, wait a minute, it's like, you're driving a bus, but then all of a sudden somebody calls you and says, hey, by the way, it looks like there's something going on. I want you to go over and investigate. Like, can't you call the cops to go do that? Right. There's nobody else floating around here. It's I guess not, wherever they're just at. The tugboat. The tugboat's got to do everything. I guess. So, because it seems like they perform a multitude of duties. Yeah. For the company. It definitely does. It's a harsh landing on this moon. It's a rough one. There's some turbulence and the ship's a little banged up. from that. So there's a lot that has to be fixed before they can leave anyways now. Brett and Parker, again, they're the engineering duo. They are responsible for that. Ripley, I guess, as the warrant officer is sort of their supervisor, and they're like, they don't seem super respectful of her and her authority.
Yeah, and I get the impression, yeah, that they, yeah, one, they're, you know, they could care less what she thinks or says, and two, that, you know, they just sort of do their own thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
sort of like today's world,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Well, also, oh, and the other problem now too is no, they can't communicate with anybody either. No.
Right, I was going to say they're off the beam, evidently.
Yeah, no signals out. So they're kind of on their own. So they decide, okay, well, we got this signal. We got to go investigate. So Lambert, Kane, and Dallas go. And the signal is not like close to where they are. I believe they said it was like 2,000. Did they say
Kilometers?
kilometers? I can't remember if they said it must have
I
been
think it was
meters.
meters, yeah.
Because I was like, okay, 2,000 kilometers is much farther. Like 2,000 meters is like, okay, it's a mile and a half.
Yeah, because they said what's within walking distance, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the other thing. They don't have some sort of little vehicle that they can
on that whole big ship. No,
I
little,
know, like there's nothing that
little golf cart.
Yeah, exactly. A little
or like
rover.
4-wheeler like thing from space.
Mean, we took one to the moon. You'd think
right, there was a rover on the moon.
Right, like they couldn't have thought, hey fellas, do you think we might have to travel further than a mile, you know, to go somewhere?
Right, you would think, but
anyway,
they don't. And it's like stormy and dusty and windy and stuff, but they trudge along and they find this ship kind of that looks like it looks kind of like if you took a bite out of a donut. Is the best way I could describe the shape. You know, it's like sort of a cylindrical thing, but with a piece missing out. Like a bagel with a chunk missing.
I was good, or like a breadstick that somebody took and like bent, you know, but it stayed intact. But yeah, it was kind of like, it's not symmetrical at all.
Yeah, it was like a tube almost making like a donut, but like not, it didn't meet all the way.
Right, yeah.
Horseshoe, like maybe?
Sort of, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, but more circular.
More, and both ends were different. I mean, it was very different looking. That was the other thing I noticed about like some of the designs and so on and so forth about the spacecraft and I even wrote down like their space suits. I don't know if you've ever seen the old 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea movie with James Mason and Kirk Douglas.
Yeah.
The diving suits, it sort of reminded me of those. They were kind of big and bulky.
You know, with like that big light.
With the big light thing, you know, coming up and but they had these teeny tiny little packs. And I was thinking, like, is that their oxygen? I mean, you know, how did they? I don't know. So.
Yeah, that's a good question. So they're trudging along. Lambert is complaining, and I was like, girl, same. Relatable. I'm a complainer. If I had to get off the ship and walk through like dust storms on a moon to go look at who knows what, I would also be like, let's go home. I want to get out of here. Back on the ship, Ash is on the bridge. He's kind of their point person to communicate with. But Ripley is like, what is this transmission? Because it was sort of corrupted. They didn't get like a full clear message. They could see like where it was coming from and that they got a transmission, but it didn't seem like they had an idea of like exactly what it said. So she gets to work on trying to figure out what that is. Also, Brett and Parker are trying to fix things. They're just trying to get paid. That's really what they're trying to do. They were actually in their earlier scene trying to argue to get paid more.
Because they had to fix the ship. I don't know if it was in their contract, if it was damaged during a landing, that was extra work. And then they all kept talking about, you'll get a full share. I guess it's a share in whatever they were hauling or whatever. You know, it's like, I guess, you know, back in the old days, whenever they like whaling ships, you know.
Yeah.
They used to, you know, you'll get your share of whatever our take is. Or deadliest catch.
Yes, basically that. Anyways, the people that are off the ship, of course, their signal back to Nostromo is getting worse. It's getting fuzzy, which is just what you want when people are out on like a moon you've never been on, exploring a ship
Right.
you've never
And
seen before.
and you're at least a mile away from on foot,
Mm-hmm.
to get back to safety.
Yeah. So they're in the ship exploring. They're like climbing through openings and stuff. Like, I'm a curious person, but not that curious. They end up in this big chamber with this big, like, it looks like a chair with like a dead alien that's like part of it.
And it's huge. It's
Huge. Yeah.
huge. Yeah, that was part of the thing I talked about at the beginning of, like, some of the scenes, the vistas are, it's like the scale of it is just, they're
Yeah.
like tiny compared to this thing.
Mm-hmm. And as they look at it, it's like, it looks like it exploded from the inside, like the bones are bent outward. To which Lambert says, "We should leave." And to which I said, "Correct." But do they leave? Of course not, because then
No,
the movie will be over.
right, yeah. In the movie, nothing to see here.
No logic in these movies. However, at the same time as that's happening, back on the ship, Ripley has decoded enough of this transmission to realize this was not an SOS. This was a warning. And once again, she's like, "We should go. Get them back so we can get out of here." And Ash says there's no point, like, or she's going to try to go get them, I think.
Yeah.
And then Ash is like, "There's no point by the time you get there. It's like they're going to be coming back. It's like, just wait. They'll come back. Like, whatever." On the strange ship, again, they're still exploring, even though Lambert is really trying not to be there.
Oh,
Kane
yeah.
has gone off on his own and has found a little pit.
Well, it's a big pit. It's like,
Well, yeah, it's not little, but it's like
yeah,
a
but
pit.
yeah, but it's like, yeah, like a subterranean
Yeah.
sort of.
He like goes down in through like a thing and finds this
Mm-hmm.
pit that's full of eggs. But they do not look like eggs you have seen. They're
Nope.
these like big green slimy eggs covered by like a layer of mist, which of course he's like sticking his hand through.
Right.
He's narrating this over their communications to Dallas and stuff, talking about the mist and stuff. And then of course he like trips and slips. Good gracious. Get some tread on those boots, please. He's touching stuff. And I wrote, "Why would you do that?"
I said the same thing. I thought, why are you poking your head around these things? And then he could see stuff moving
Stuff is
inside of
moving.
it.
One like hisses at him.
Yeah.
You could see they're translucent enough that you can see like little embryonic things
Mm-hmm.
like swirling around inside.
By the way, I read how they did that. Did you read how they did that?
I didn't.
It's Ridley Scott's hands wearing surgical gloves, and they're shining a light behind them. That's how they did that effect.
I love practical effects. See, this is the thing that I think we're missing these days. We're like, we
Mm-hmm.
can do anything with a computer so that people stray from the creativity demanded by a practical effect.
They said the shells were made out of fiberglass, and then they shaved them down so they could be translucent. And then, yeah, that was just him. He put his hands up inside of one, and they shined the light from behind, but he was just wearing surgical gloves, and that's him moving his hands around.
I love that. I
I
love
know.
just simple, creative things.
Exactly.
And it looked like, you couldn't tell it was someone's hands. It looked like
I
a
thought
little
it was.
creature.
I thought it was something alive in there. Well, it was his hands, but yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
think it looked like a pair of hands.
It looked like a little creature in there. So
Mhm.
good on you, Ridley. Yeah, see, this is why I want someone to just make a movie and just be like, "No computers."
Yeah, no
No
CGI.
CGI.
No CGI.
No CGI.
That'll be our slogan. No CGI.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, make it. I was watching The Mummy 2 today, and the CGI in that movie with
Oh,
the Scorpion King is so bad.
it's awful. It doesn't even
looks
look like a human being.
It looks
Or
like
it doesn't even look like The Rock.
it looks like old video game graphics. Like, it's so bad.
It's like EA Sports back in
Yeah.
1998.
Sega, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, so then one of the eggs, it like opens up at the top, and it looks like if you get an endoscopy and you get the pictures of the inside, like the valves, in your digestive system. That is what it looks like to me.
Yep.
Sorry to be graphic, but that was what I thought
No.
of immediately. Then a thing shoots out and grabs his face. Well, like the front of his helmet.
Yeah.
Which is like startling. That was the first moment that I was like, oh my God.
I
It's
wrote
like
that
I
was
knew something was gonna happen.
this. I wrote the beginning. This is the
Yes.
beginning of the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we cut back to the ship. Those three have returned. And they're like, okay, let us back on the ship. And Ripley's like, well, no.
She goes, Where's Kane?"
Oh yeah.
Well, there was an incident.
He's here. But there's this thing that is, and it's at this point it has like broken through his helmet.
Right. It
It's
looks
on
like
his face.
it's melted the
Yeah.
faceplate. Yeah, and it's
It is
buried.
directly on his face. But yeah, you could see that it's like
Yeah.
it's an interesting picture of like just like
Mhm.
it is penetrated through. But Ripley's like, well, the rule is if you get off the ship, you're in quarantine for 24 hours. So there we go. You're in
Mhm.
quarantine. And they're like, no, you have to let us in so Kane can get some help. And she's like, well, no, the rule is 24 hours. If there's something wrong with Kane, we don't want it here.
Right.
And then Ash lets them in. Well, because Dallas is like, I'm the captain. I'm giving orders. Let us in.
Right.
And Ripley's like, well, I am the highest ranking person on the ship. And I'm saying no.
No.
Also, the rules say no. But Ash does what the captain is saying. He lets them back on. They take Kane to like their like medical bay. And they're trying to figure out what the heck that is. They remove the helmet, but the thing is still on his face. This is
Yeah,
what will
we get a better look at like
yes.
yeah, this
This is what will come to be known as a face hugger.
face hugger. Yeah, baby.
And it is latched on to his face. It's also like got a tail like wrapped around his neck.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when they try to pull at the thing on his face, that the thing like wraps tighter around his neck also. But it's like they can't like pry it off, basically.
Right.
So then
Yeah.
they do an x-ray and they also see that it has something down his throat. So they're like, oh, maybe it's supplying him with oxygen because he's alive. Like you can see his chest rising. He's alive. He's breathing.
Right.
So they're like, maybe it's supplying him with oxygen. I don't know. Well, we'll know soon. But Dallas is like, take it off. And Ash is like, well, it might kill him. And he's like, well, you gotta just take it off.
Right.
Whatever it is, just take it off. They cut its leg, or I guess what we'll call its leg, that is wrapped around the side of Kane's head. And it leaks a fluid that melts through the floor like 3 floors down.
Right. It's like acid.
It's acid. It eats through. Like they're going down multiple levels and like there's still a hole continuing. And then it finally has stopped and sort of like congealed, I guess.
Sort of, kind of, but yeah, Dallas's first thing is it's gonna eat through the hull of the ship.
Yeah. So then Brett and Parker are still trying to fix the ship. That was a brief reprieve from it.
Yeah.
But Ash is trying to figure out what the thing is on his face. Everybody else is kind of like doing their own thing, but Ash is still, he's the science officer, right? So he's doing the science. He's trying to figure out what this is. It seems very like adaptable. It's surviving despite being in like a different environment.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, right, from being like on that ship to outside to on their ship, which like has oxygen and those other places didn't. So like it's adapting and surviving. Ripley, when she talks to Ash, she's very like sarcastic with him, like, oh, wow, isn't it nice that you let this random thing that we don't know what it is on our ship?
Right.
And it has like acid blood that eats through the floor. Isn't it great that you let it on our ship when I told you not to come on the ship? She's like, these are the science rules. And you were the science person. And you were not obeying the science rules. And he's like,
he tries to rationalize it. I was obeying a direct order. Remember, yes. He said, it, yeah.
And she says, you put,
gave me
yeah. He says, the captain gave me a direct order. I was obeying that. And then she says, you put everyone at risk. And he says, it's a risk I was willing to take. Which is like,
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Not your job, buddy.
Have you heard of the trolley problem, sir? He sent the trolley to kill all those other people to save the one guy, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Well, stay tuned, everybody. Ash calls Dallas to look at Kane. He's like, you got to come down and see this. Ripley goes too, and the facehugger is gone. Kane is just laying there. He's just a human laying on the thing.
Yeah, he
And they're
just
like,
yeah.
well, where the hell did it go?
and don't they have video cameras?
Right? I'm sorry. What? Like, I can't keep up with the technology.
I
Well,
know.
oh, well, didn't they say they lost?
Oh, wait, yeah,
They
did.
lost view of certain floors.
So, yeah,
When
so you're
that was
yeah,
part of the issue. They lost some like thrusters and stuff, but they lost view of certain floors
I forgot.
through
You're
their
right.
cameras. No,
You're right.
that's a good point. I think I wrote that down, but I forgot to say it. But that is an important detail that they mentioned at the beginning.
Mhm.
So, anyways, they're just walking around in this room with like little pokers and like a, like the steel, the like metal like bucket that they use
Yeah.
like when they take like organs out in surgery and they put them in a thing.
So, and I have a question. Why didn't they turn on the damn lights?
That's a good question
Why
too.
if you're looking for something and it's dark, don't you turn on the light before you like it? Plus, it's like something you don't know what it is or where it is.
Right.
You know, it's
Right.
because I wrote, I thought, why don't they turn on the lights? Are they afraid the lights will scare it? It's like it was sucking Kane's face. So I don't
Also,
think
why didn't they keep an eye on it? That seems like something someone should be monitoring constantly.
exactly like
That's
oh
not something to walk away from.
so, but maybe we figure out why later on
Yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah,
Lots of this makes more sense later.
yeah. Anyway,
I also wrote a note here. Just I enjoy Ripley's like her jumpsuit and her like Chuck Taylors and stuff. I like
oh
her.
yeah,
I like her outfit. It looks cool.
yeah. She has great hair in this movie too, by the way,
Yes, yes.
which I kind of found kind of surprising for. Well, but it was a big ship. But usually you don't see people with like long big hair. Like aboard space shuttles and stuff.
Yeah,
But
Lambert's hair is short.
yeah,
For
Lambert's hair is
example,
short. Yeah, and
she has like a
and the
pixie
rest of
cut.
the guys, although now like Dallas has a beard and everything, but he's
Mm-hmm.
so. But anyway, I just thought
Yeah,
it was
she's got her like like Sally Ride.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, good point. Yeah, didn't think about that. But yeah, she's rocking the outfit.
Yes. Anyways, it is tense as hell right now, right? Because we're just looking around. You're waiting for something to just jump out.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally it falls off the ceiling onto Ripley, who's like, what?
And that freaked me out at even on watching it again. But I mean,
Yeah.
at the movies, it was like, oh, because you don't know what
Right. You're
is it.
just waiting.
Yeah,
Like,
because you figure, oh, it left Kane, but now it wants another one.
yes. You
I'm
like,
full. I'm full.
something's gonna happen, but you don't know exactly what. And like, you don't know when it's gonna happen. And they're searching and searching and searching. It appears to be barely alive though. It's kind of floppy. It's good. It's
Yeah.
like an
Oh, yeah,
octopus.
yeah.
Ash decides he's like, oh, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna figure out what this is and mess with it. And Ripley's like, are you for real? And
Yeah.
Dallas is like, yeah, he's a science officer. Let him do science on it.
Let him do his thing.
So, anyways, they're still the ship is now in kind of bare minimum flying condition. There's still some things that should be fixed that Ripley wants to be fixed, but Dallas is like, nope. If the thing can fly, we're getting out of here.
Yep, we're lifting off.
He just wants to leave. This is when they say it. They haven't said it yet. They're still blind on B and C decks, and they have no reserve power system.
Yeah.
They hadn't said it before, but they just said that. So they take off. It's still kind of bumpy. Kane is still unconscious. He's alive. He's laying there. Parker's like, we should just freeze him. Just like keep him, keep him alive, but like, we don't have to mess with him.
Right.
Kane agrees. Brett agrees. Brett agrees with everything Parker says, which Ripley calls out. She's like, he could say anything. You're just going to be like, yeah. And he goes, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Lambert, who is the navigator, does the calculations, and it's going to take 10 months to get back to Earth. So they're like, oh, God, oh, brother. Then once again, Ash is like, come see Kane. Come see Kane. Now he's awake and alive and like seems fine, which is wild. He's like up having a drink. He doesn't really remember what happened. They ask him what he remembers, and he says he had a horrible dream about smothering.
Smothering, yeah, which is creepy to me too.
Yes.
Yes,
That wasn't a dream, buddy.
I know.
They were like, okay, great. We're all good. Let's have some food, and then we're gonna go back to sleep. So as they're eating, again, just like a nice family meal at their table, Kane is like retching and gagging. Sounds like a cat trying to cough up a hairball. And then he's kind of like laying on the table, like writhing around. It seems like they think he's having a seizure because they're trying to put something in his mouth.
Yeah, look, so he won't swallow his tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then there's like a burst of blood from his chest, like bleh, like that, just out of his chest. Just like a little spurt of blood comes out. And then the iconic moment. The alien pops out of his chest. I will say it is jarring because blood is on everybody.
Yeah.
And then a creature pops out of his chest. The creature did make me laugh a little bit. Because it is kind of funny looking.
Yeah, well, it's, yeah.
And I think, well, also, like, I have seen, like, I know what the alien looks like.
Right.
I think if I have seen this for the first time, that would be different.
So when I saw the movie at the movie theater, and my buddy and I were sitting there, and in front of us were two couples, two guys and two women. When the thing burst out of his chest, the guys got up and left the movie theater. And I mean, like, and people were screaming anyway. I mean, it was pandemonium. It was, in the movie.
They left the women?
They left. So my buddy looked at me, I looked at him. And so we leaned over and said, ladies, if you'd like to watch the rest of the movie with someone who won't run away, we'd be more
with a real man.
We were, and they, I think they were so embarrassed by, that we had seen that the guys had left. They said, no, thank you, though. We're just going to leave. So anyway, and that's part of the reason the movie made such an impression on me, because these guys all throughout the beginning of the movie, it was like you could hear, people talking and go, oh, this isn't going to be anything, or, it's just not going to be anything. And then when that thing came out of his chest, I swear to God, they both just went, what the? And they left. They just booked. But they weren't the only ones. There were a few people that left the movie theater.
That's very funny.
I know that when that happened. So, I mean,
hilarious.
it was jarring, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like
wouldn't leave.
Yeah. So,
yeah. And I think for me too, like, I have the benefit of, like, this movie came out 45 years ago. So, like, I knew that was going to happen.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the iconic scene in the movie. So
it did make me laugh. The reason why it made me laugh a little bit is because the alien that pops out, it's like a miniature version of what eventually, like, we see as the alien, and it's just like, and then it like scurries away.
It kind of squeaks, and it looks around. There's also the if you watch the visual reaction of Cartwright, Angela Cartwright, they said that was real because they didn't tell her there was going to be blood. And
it's on her face.
It's on her face. She freaked out when they said when this happened, and because Tom Skerritt said that was her real reaction. It wasn't like she was acting, because she had no idea that this was going to be this bad. And then when the next jet of blood came and covered everything, that they said she just lost her shit.
Yeah.
So
I was also reading, in her being, because like I said, she originally thought she was going to be Ripley. And she was like disappointed in being sort of like the scaredy cat. But they were like, you were sort of like the stand-in for the audience here. Because I think that is the reaction a little bit of like, oh my God, what's happening?
And in all honesty, like I said, when I was in the movie theater, I think that was probably 90% of the reaction of most people in the audience. It was like, what the holy hell just happened? What was that? So
that is not, like, if you didn't know that was coming, that is not what you would expect to be happening. And actually, Parker was ready to stab it. He had a knife in his hand.
Yeah, because
he was ready to kill it. But Ash was like, don't touch it.
Yeah, because
Because
it
it
sort of
lingered for a moment.
it froze. Yeah, just for because it was sort of looking around. Well, you kind of thought it was because it didn't have any eyes. So
Yeah. And Parker was going to kill it. And Ash is like, no, don't touch it. Then that's when it scurries away. So now Kane is dead. And they
obviously,
wrap him up and they release him into space. This part also made me laugh because I imagined like a gentle release into space, like in some other movies. But
oh,
they
where
like,
they sort of
you know what I mean? Like in
where they sort of float out
in
like
like
in.
Guardians of the Galaxy, they like
Mhm,
release the guy into space and they just
mhm,
float. But they
yeah.
shot him out like toast coming out of the toaster. It was like, goodbye, Kane. Get out of here.
Yeah, so
That was not the velocity at which I expected him to exit the ship. So that did make me laugh a little bit too. However, morbidly sorry. But where the hell is the alien?
well, and I wrote that down. So where in the hell is it? I said, where the hell is the alien? Where is it? You know, what the fuck happened to it?
Hmm.
Where did it go? And it because when you see it, it's small. It's probably what, maybe 6 to 8 inches
Yeah,
tall at the
it's a
if
little
that.
thing.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
little.
So
And that was my next thing. Where you're gonna get. So now they start. Now they're going to go look for it.
yeah, because I can't go to sleep with that thing roaming around.
Gee, what a
Um,
surprise!
right. Well, they're like, how are we gonna find it? This is a big old ship. So Ash made tracking devices that like beep when something is moving. It detects like disturbance of like the air, basically.
Yeah.
But you got to be kind of close. So they're
That
like,
was
okay.
another snarky comment from Ripley too. She goes,
Hmm.
"Well, what principle does it work on?" And he looks
Hmm.
at her like, "Oh, well, it's on the principle of what disturbances of molecular or whatever it is." Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Like, you know,
Well, she's done with him, and honestly, I would be too,
yeah. I mean,
because
but
she is living in the "I told you so"
uh-huh.
moment.
Exactly. Yeah. Like we wouldn't be here if you'd have done what I said. And now
Let him
look, we
quarantine for 24 hours. This would have
yep,
been
look
their
where we're
problem.
at now.
Exactly. So they divide into two teams. Dallas, Lambert, and Ash are one team, and then Ripley is stuck with Parker and Brett. Um, they're walking around. They also realize that like something they fixed is broken again. So they pause
It's
to
not
fix that.
working. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the lights.
Mm-hmm. So I was like, was it the alien?
Well, and so this was another aha moment for me was like they had this net with them.
Yeah.
The hole in the net wouldn't hold the creature that jumped out of his chest. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean?
They have a net and a cattle prod
Yeah, that was a
with
cattle
them.
prod. Why do they have cattle prods?
I don't know.
And I know they're inside the ship, but remember when they were going to get ready to go out and explore when the signal came,
Hmm.
and Dallas goes, "Let's break out the weapons." So they have weapons, evidently,
Right.
because they had them to go off roading, whatever you want to call it. But I guess they can't use them inside the ship, so they have to resort to cattle prods.
It's like this is like the kind of weapons. This is some like little rascals weapons. Like
I
they're like,
know.
empty your pockets, see what we got.
Yeah, let's make a slingshot.
And I think they have a knife also. These
Right,
three.
right.
They have a
Yeah,
cattle prod, a net that is way too big, that has giant holes. It's
I
like a net
know.
it's like a climbing net,
Yeah, exactly. It's like a cargo net
and a knife
and a
to
knife.
take on an alien that
Hmm.
just exploded out of someone's chest. Okay.
On
So they're
it.
going, they're walking. There's the tracking device is beeping. It's within 5 meters. And here I just wrote suspense in capital letters because it is
Yeah.
just like we're just creeping. The thing's like beep, 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 beep. It's like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? They get to their like the bay of lockers. And they're
Hmm.
like, it's in that locker. They're all poised with like the net, the cattle prod. Then they throw it open, and it was just the cat,
It's
Jonesy.
Jonesy.
And they're like, damn it. And then they like they let it go, and they're like, no, we gotta get the cat so that we can lock it up so that this doesn't happen again. We
Well,
need to eliminate all the other variables so we know that the movement is the alien.
well, Harry Dean Stanton sort of had it, and then he just let it go. And
Yeah.
then
So
they
they're
said,
like,
"Why did you let
Brett.
it go, you dummy?"
Yeah.
So
So then he gets to go by himself, even though they had said we need to stay in teams.
that was my next thing. Why did they break up the team? They
They all could
just
have gone to
said,
get the cat together.
Exactly. If you're going to go on your mission, you got to go on your mission. So they send, you know, poor
Brett.
Harry Dean Brett,
Hmm.
poor Brett off by his lonesome to go get the cat.
Yeah. And I wrote, and of course he's going to be killed. That's the first rule of horror movies. You don't split up.
Right.
They've never seen a
Yeah.
horror movie yet, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Don't
don't
split up.
you don't split up. You turn on the lights.
Yes, you turn on the lights. Don't
Yeah.
go, who's there?
Yeah. You don't like shine a flashlight into a dark room. It's got a light switch on the wall. Duh.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So, anyways, he finds a cat, but then it runs away again. Then he finds like the shed skin of the alien, which is
It
gross.
looks like snake skin. Like, have you ever seen the snake that's, you know, a snake had shed its skin?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what it looked
I wrote
like.
here, sorry, I love my cats, but at that moment, goodbye.
You're on your own.
Goodbye, cat.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jonesy. Good luck.
Yeah, I think I would have run back. I might have said, "Hey, you know what, guys? I can't find the cat.
Exactly. I would have given up.
You know, let's move forward."
Instead, he presses on into this room where it is like raining. And he's doing he's Natasha Bedingfield, feel the rain on your skin. Inside.
I thought it was more like Flash Dance.
Well, that he is kind of like that. I don't know why, but it's feel the rain on your skin. And he's not questioning this. Now, if it were me, I would say, hey, we're inside a ship. I'm an engineer. Why is there water coming from the ceiling above me? That would be a question I would ask.
Is this
Brett asks no such question.
He just sort of takes off his hat and he's like putting his face up into it. Like,
it's refreshing.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, dude, it'd be like if it was leaking inside the Titanic.
Right? Like, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Nice little water fountain for me.
Yeah. Is it supposed to be wet inside the ship?
And he's still looking for the cat. He keeps looking for the cat after he has his little shower. And there are all these close-ups on his face, and I'm just waiting for something to like come up behind him. Like that is sort of what I'm anticipating, because it's just like his face and like some space behind him you can see, and I'm just waiting for it to be like right there over his shoulder. But then he finds the cat.
Yep.
The cat is hiding, and the cat is hissing at something behind him, which he is paying no attention to. He's just like, Jonesy, come on, come here, Jonesy.
Yeah, he thinks Jonesy's afraid of him.
Like, dude, come on. The alien is behind him, so the cat will not come out.
Well, and above him.
And above him. Yeah, it's sort of like lowering down. Yeah, Spider-Man style.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, into frame behind him. Because it has like a prehensile tail or something. It's like.
And do we mention now at this point how big it is?
It's very big. Remember when we last saw it, it was like 8 inches tall. Now it's like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Also, I also just want to point out, this is the first time we've seen like the alien as it is. And it's like over an hour into the movie at this point. It's a 2-hour movie. We're over halfway through the movie. So you and I talked about this, but it's sort of reminiscent of Jaws, right? The threat is existing for a while before we actually see it.
Right. And there's victims.
Yeah, there's victims.
Evidence of its destruction. But
yes,
as far as actually seeing it work or seeing it, we have.
Yeah, we have not seen it until now. And it is ugly. It's not a nice thing to look at.
And we've actually seen, this is like the third version of the of whatever, you know, because first it was the face hugger. Yeah. And then the little baby thing. And then now it's like, you know, hey.
This is like Charizard, right? If you're a Pokemon person, we have seen Charmander and we have seen Charmeleon, and now it is Charizard. It has evolved.
I don't know that reference, so not a Pokemon.
So like, you know, in Pokemon they always evolve. Yeah. So it's like a little cute one, then it's like a slightly bigger one, and then it's like a big Charizard's like a big giant dragon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's like a little dinosaur looking guy, and then a little bit bigger one, and then it's just like like that is that's where we're at. We are at the Charizard of this thing's evolution, or Gyarados, whatever is your element of choice.
Yeah.
Pokemon. Anyways, goodbye to Brett, because the alien attacks him and kills him.
Yep.
It just snatches him up.
Exactly. And I was going to say, and I wrote, this is going to hell in a hurry.
Right? We're down 2 people already.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like back to back. So the team has regrouped. They're like, well, it took them into the air ducts. That seems to be how it's moving around. Poor Lambert is like, is maybe Brett alive in the air ducts? And Ripley's like, no. Well, she's like, well, I don't know, but like, probably not.
And Parker says it was huge. It was, it was big. So I guess they did see it. When at some point take off or take.
Yeah, when it like slithered him away.
Right.
So their idea is they're going to kind of close. They're going to basically close all the openings in the air ducts to drive it out to like the edge, and then they're going to shoot it out into space. So they're going to kind of corner it. So the only way it can go is out.
And
okay.
Parker at this point just wants to kill the thing.
Yeah. He's mad.
Killed his buddy.
That's his buddy. He's like, yeah, we should kill it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, like the goal. That's the goal. But like, we also want it to leave. So Mother is no help. Mother, the computer, they're like, typing in Mother, what do we do? Like, how to kill this alien? Is this plan going to work? Do you have any ideas? And she's like, insufficient data to make a decision to everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't know what this thing is basically what Mother is telling them.
Don't you think it's kind of like this is where Dallas goes, what are my chances? And it doesn't have an answer.
This is like insufficient data to compute or something like that.
Because he's the one that's going to go into the air ducts.
Yes. He's the captain, so he's gonna go down with the ship.
And I thought at this point, rather than go hunt this thing, why don't you just hole up in a fortified spot and sort of put up a defensive perimeter? And if whatever you need to do, I guess they're afraid it's going to tear up the ship. I don't know, but whatever.
And they can't go they have a shuttle to leave. Well, they can't go in the sleep pods, but there's a shuttle to leave, but it's too small to hold.
Yeah.
There's
5 of them.
There's 5 of them left, and it's really only for like a couple people, so they all can't fit.
Right.
To which they should have been like, all right, well, let's draw straws.
Well, which goes back to it's like the Titanic not having enough lifeboats.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why do you have a crew of 6 or whatever, and your shuttle only holds 2?
Yeah. Good question. Have 2 shuttles.
Yeah, you had enough room on that ship to put a Winnebago.
The ship is huge.
It's huge. You would have thought there would have been a shuttle at like each end or whatever, or one every 150 feet. You still could have had 4 shuttles.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So anyways, yeah, Mother can't offer any options, no plans, no suggestions, does not compute when it comes to their chances. So Dallas is in there. They're trying to track the thing. They're tracking him and the thing on a little computer thing. He has like a flamethrower. They figure, okay, animals are scared of fire. Right. So we can use that to like.
And this is like every other animal that we've ever seen.
Obviously, right? This is just a bear.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's like a wolf that looks like that.
Right, a very slimy, tall wolf. So he's going. It's clearly been around because everything is wet and slimy, and this thing is like a slug, and apparently leaves a trail. It feels like this is just a suicide mission, is what I wrote.
That's what I thought, when he puts his hand in, he's like, there's just gooey stuff and he keeps going. I'd be like so far back, right. I'd be like,
let's think of a different plan.
I'd be climbing in the shuttle going, good luck.
Bye.
Yeah.
So they can see that the thing is around the 3rd junction, in the air duct system as Dallas, and he's, they're closing things behind him as he's going. He goes to pursue it, but then the signal is lost, of course. Then it's back and it's moving, but it's like right behind him. And it's like, where is it going to come from? Because he's like at sort of a junction point. Like he's at a crossroads sort of in the tunnel. So it's like, where?
Didn't it remind you of Pac-Man?
It does kind of. I could see that. And then it like pops up. I said it pops up with like jazz hands because you see it's like it's little amphibious, it's like webbed hands first. So I was like,
I thought
jazz
it was like
hands.
reaching out to him, like, hello, like it was
Yeah.
going to hug him or something, like,
Hey.
yeah, here I
But it was
am.
like hands first.
Uh-huh. And it makes a
And
noise that like,
yeah, it grabs him. The rest of the crew finds the flamethrower, but no Dallas, no blood.
yeah, that's the scary part. No blood.
Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know, eating people whole. Like, I don't know what it's doing with them. Ripley's like, okay, Ripley's in charge now. She's the
Mhm.
third ranking person, so now she is.
I was gonna say now Ripley's got to take.
Yes,
She takes command.
she is the ranking officer on
Yep.
board, and she's like, all right, we're going with the plan. Lambert is like, we should abandon ship, and I think this is when they say there's still
Oh,
4 of them, and we can't all 4 fit in the shuttle.
in the shuttle.
Well, I know who you can leave behind.
Mhm.
Parker's like, let's kill it.
Yeah, now he's really like, yeah, he's pissed.
And Ripley's like, yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna kill it. So they're
Mhm.
gonna go in pairs and they're gonna cut it off until it has nowhere to go. And then they're gonna blast it into space. So kind of the same plan.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna go. They're just gonna like cut, I think.
Yeah, cut the things down because
Close all the doors. Parker has to refill the flamethrower and goes alone, which scared me, but he makes it. Ripley asks Ash for suggestions. He has none. There's nothing and he says there's nothing from Mother either, but Ripley is done talking to him because again, this is at least like 75% his fault.
easily. Yeah.
So she goes to the computer room to talk to Mother. And she knows that Ash has his own mission. Because he said something like he can't tell her. He has like nothing.
Yeah.
He has his own mission and he can't tell her about it. So she's like, well, I'm going to find out what his mission is. And since she's now the commanding officer, she can like override. Like Mother at first is like, you can't know his mission. And she's like, well, I'm in charge now, so I can.
Right.
And Mother tells her that Ash's mission was to bring the life form home at all costs and that all crew members are expendable. Now, as Ripley is reading this, Ash's creepy ass pops up right next to her.
In this supposedly secluded, isolated, secure room.
Yes. Like, you gotta press some buttons and go through some doors to get into this
you gotta
computer
go
room.
through like 2 sets of doors and then have some sort of access code.
Right. And imagine this if you have not seen it. We are looking at Ripley's profile as she's reading this, and then suddenly next to her face, we see Ian Holmes's face right next to her. She is not as startled by this as I would be, or as I was watching it.
I remember everybody jumping in the movie theater when he's like, because he talks to her, he says something, and she doesn't.
She's very casual about it.
Doesn't bat an eyebrow.
And then he's trying to like basically like kind of shut her in.
Yeah.
A room.
Like
they're sort of fighting. He's trying to like lock her away since she now knows his mission. But also during this, so like she gets a bloody nose.
Mm-hmm.
He also seems to get a bloody nose, but he's leaking white stuff.
Yeah.
It's not blood. It looks like watery milk.
Yeah. Milk of magnesia.
And then he's like throwing her around, which again seems weird because Sigourney Weaver is not a small woman and Ian Holm is a small man.
Right.
So he's like throwing her around. He gets her on a bed. He rolls up a magazine and is trying to like shove it down her throat, which was kind of crazy.
That was scary though, wasn't
it? I was like,
yeah. And like he's very sort of matter of fact about it. Then, there's no, it's
he's
just
sort of like dead in the face doing it.
Yeah. And he's been like that throughout the whole movie. He's sort of like, he always seems so calm and then so blank, there's no expression on his face.
Yeah. And well, Lambert and Parker come back and they're like, oh, why are you beating the shit out of Ripley? So they're trying to stop him, but he's so strong. And then Parker like whacks him with something hard and he's like spazzing out, spitting this white stuff. He's like, you know, like
Yeah.
freaking out. And then Parker hits him again, busts his head open, and he's an android. He's not even a human,
Yeah,
which
because
makes a lot of things make sense. He
his
like
head's
basically knocks
flopping
his head
around.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
His
still
head has
attached, but
become
it's like,
like, yeah, like most of the way detached from his neck. It's just hanging there. He's also still fighting.
oh yeah, yeah.
Still fighting. They have to like keep beating it up. And they finally like get it knocked down. This explains a lot.
Mm-hmm.
This
He's
explains
not
a lot.
he's not human.
He's not human, and we know why he was making all those decisions that seemed to be dumb. They weren't dumb. They were deliberate.
They figured, yeah, that the company was going to bring the life form back to put in to use in the weapons department.
Yes. Yes. So they sort of plug Ash back in enough just with his head sitting on like the table. It's like his body is nearby, but his head is sitting up, which is so interesting because obviously they just had like Ian Holm like sitting under a table with like his head poked through.
And so at first, I also read that first they were trying to use a animatronic head, like they do at Disney World.
Oh yeah, Hall of
And
Presidents.
yeah, and they said it didn't look real enough, and the stuff kept breaking down. So they said, okay, the hell with it. We're just going to put Ian's head through the table, cut a hole in it, and then we'll rig him up with. But when he started talking, and that stuff came out of his mouth, like that white
and
milky
he
fluid,
sounds so much more like robotic when he's talking now.
That is such. And I was when they were trying to wire him back up so he like they could make him talk. Like Ripley's hands were, or was it Parker or Ripley that was putting him back together?
I think it was Parker.
Parker, but it's like, man, that was like gross looking. All those little bulbs and tubes and stuff, and
that stuff just like leaking everywhere.
Oh, I know.
Ugh.
It was like that fluid stuff, and then it was creepy. So that was really creepy.
Yeah, but basically he again affirms that his mission was to bring back the light form. All other priorities rescinded. And they're talking about, they asked how to kill it, and he says, you can't kill it. Yeah. It's a perfect organism. And Ripley's like, ew, you admire it. And he says, I admire its purity. A survivor unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality. And then he says, this is like he's a very good villain, because this is all this talking is very creepy. I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies.
No, it was like, ooh, you know, for like supposedly a robot, you know, who has no emotion or no feeling, it's like,
he delivered that in a very dastardly way.
I know, like
he was
you
like,
guys are all gonna
you're gonna die.
You know, you may have killed me, but you're gonna end up like me.
Good luck. So Ripley's like, all right, we're getting on the shuttle and we're just gonna blow up the ship. That's what we're doing.
Yep.
I also appreciated the only people left, 2 women and the black guy. I was like, look at this. Look at this woke movie from 1979.
79, baby. Hey, this was the dawning of the age of Aquarius. So
there we go.
That song just came into my head from the 5th dimension.
So they divide up. Of course they do. Ripley's getting the shuttle ready, and the other 2 are getting all the little oxygen tanks and stuff so that they can blow up the ship. Yeah. And then, Ripley hears the cat. So she's like, oh, right. Yeah. We have a cat. Let me go get the cat.
Why do they have a cat on board ship? I mean, if any of you had known Lindsay and I are both cat lovers. So, but why would you bring a cat aboard a spaceship? Is it supposed to be good luck or something?
I don't know.
I know they took cats on sailing ships.
Yeah.
To keep the
rats. They kept, but presumably they're not rats in space. You would have to bring them. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Was it just somebody's friend?
Maybe, but it didn't seem to belong to anybody in particular.
No. So I also just wrote here, I'm sorry, I love my cats, but come on.
I don't know. I
Good,
might have.
good on the cat for surviving this long.
Well, the cat. I even wrote down Jonesy knew how to stay alive.
Sure did.
You
Yeah.
know.
Let's talk about a perfect specimen, Ash.
Exactly.
Anyways, Ripley gets the cat. She puts it in the carrier.
Cool carrier, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
But of course, then the alien pops up where Parker and Lambert are, and Parker wants to kill it, but like Lambert's kind of near it. He doesn't want to like shoot the flamethrower and burn her, but she just like won't move. She's like frozen in fear when she sees the alien. So she's just standing there. And
So
he's
at
like,
this point, if it was me, sorry, Parker.
Parker, you just got to set it on fire. If Lambert isn't going to move, you've given her fair warning.
Right. I was going to say,
Turn that
Parker,
flamethrower on, bro.
bro, you got to do the deed.
But I will say these two like do put up a fight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They don't get snatched up as easily as the rest of them.
No,
They're fighting.
I did write though. I'm sorry, but I wrote
Okay.
when Lambert was sitting there, how terrifying to know that you're going to die, and that you're looking at, and it did remind me of Quint with Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
That he was, there was no way he was going to escape that fate,
Yeah.
and you knew that that's what was going to happen. And I sort of had that same feeling with her.
Yeah.
So.
And also, I think because of the fight, this is a little more gruesome because it like sends a thing like through Ash's like abdomen, like a I don't know,
tail. It's like it's tail thing, and
like pointy thing like through him, and it's like ooh, that
Yeah.
was the most like graphic. I mean, besides the chest burst thing, but like since then, this was the most because the other one it just took them.
Yeah,
we didn't really see any like thing happening, but this time it's like stabbing and because they put up a fight. I'm just saying. Yeah. Parker really does try to kill it. Ripley's running to get to them, and this part's that it's just like screaming. You just hear screaming.
Oh yeah.
As she's trying to get to them, and then she's like, "Okay, well then I'm gonna blow it up myself." Then,
right.
So she's trying, and it's like this again is stress. The lights are flashing, the music is picking up, so much is happening. It's like, oh my god, girl, go, 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 go. And of course, she's like getting stuff ready to blow up, but then the alien figures out where she's trying to go and it blocks her path to the shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
So then she's like, okay, well, maybe then I don't want to blow up the ship because I'm stuck on it.
Well, and I wrote down like the procedure that like to blow up the ship. Like she was going through all this stuff, and it was like the stress and stuff. I would not have remembered how to do all those steps to blow up.
You're going to like multiple rooms. You got to press all these different buttons.
You got to screw these things together.
Yes,
and then you got to
unscrew
pull
things,
these switches,
pull the levers. Then you got to go somewhere else and do something else. It was a lot.
I said, why is all this steam coming out? What the hell is this ship run on? Coal?
It's like, I was like, does that mean it's blowing up already?
I know. It's like, wait a minute, is there a leak somewhere? Did I do something wrong? And I love how the instructions are on the hatch about how to blow up your ship in 3 easy steps.
You have 5 minutes. Once this is happening, you have 5 minutes. We see that multiple times, so they're emphasizing and 5 minutes.
And now all of a sudden the ship talks. Or this system talks, it tells you, oh, you have, X amount of minutes, till.
Yeah. And then she tries to undo it because she's like, well, now I'm stuck on the ship. I don't want to blow the ship up that I'm on. And it's like, oh, too late. Sorry. It's still going to blow up.
And I wrote down, I said, I would have had a heart attack.
I know. I would just die.
Yeah.
I would just die.
I would have just passed out. I would just blacked out. And I thought, okay, that's it. I'm done.
Like, I'm sorry. Is there a gun on the ship? I would just go. Like I'm.
Yeah.
Just let me go. We talked about this. We saw. We'll touch on this. We can touch on this more later. We saw A Quiet Place Day 1 the other day. If it's a survival situation like that, if it's an apocalypse situation, no, thank you. Because you know what happens if you survive? Do you know what you get to do the next day? Survive.
You
know what you don't get to do? Take a nap, read a book, rest. No, thank you. Pass.
Eat a donut.
I'll just die. I'll eat a donut and then I'll die. That's all I want to do.
Or pizza.
Anyways, yes, go get some pizza. Anyways, she's got to get Get to the shuttle.
Now she's got to get to the shuttle because
Gotta
now
get
she
to the
has less
shuttle.
than 5 minutes before this ship blows up.
And it's like counting down. It's like, oh my God. So she's like, you know what? Okay. Flamethrower in one hand, cat in the other. I'm getting to the shuttle.
And book it, Yeah, now
She's
she's
like,
got to turn around and go back.
yeah. So she's like, okay, let me just squirt some flames at this thing and I'm getting my ass to the shuttle. And she does. She makes it to the shuttle just in, and like she presses all the buttons, gets it going. They get away truly like in the nick of time, as they do.
As, and
And it's
as
like,
it's countdown, and you're thinking, my God, is she going to get far enough away? Because, and then when the ship does blow up, is it nuclear?
It's like a supernova.
That's I know because it's like a couple of explosions, right? It seems like
it's
unless
like
they
one big one, and then like it's another like
yeah,
right
and
after
then
that.
and that shuttle ain't moving very quickly at the beginning of that
No,
thing. It's like because
certainly is
it
not.
seems to take forever. She's seeing the bottom of the ship, and it's like, and then it's like 10 seconds, 9 seconds, and
Yeah.
it's like, dude, where's hyperspace? Where's my
So she gets away.
So I will tell you at this point in the movie in the theater, people were cheering.
Yes, everybody's like, woohoo!
They were. It was like oh, everybody's clapping and cheering and stuff like that. Well, the movie's still going on because that everybody thinks that's the end.
See,
it's not.
Now at the movies you wouldn't know that. I knew because on my little Disney Plus they said you have 15 minutes left, and I said, oh no. Oh no.
Oh yeah, because we're sitting there going, oh, this is the end of the movie, or this it's gonna, and no,
it is not. So she's like, okay, well, we're safely on the shuttle. Time to go to sleep till we get to Earth. So she puts the cat in its little it gets its own little sleeping pod.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, all right, time for me to go. Also, I noticed, I'm sorry, she like undresses and she's in like a tank top and underwear that is like 4 sizes too small. She's wearing children's underwear.
I wrote down that looks like it's so uncomfortable. And it's what is the purpose of that?
They wanted everybody to see Sigourney Weaver's butt crack.
I guess, but it's like
I was like, y'all couldn't give her a pair of panties that fit.
I know, or like, is this what underwear of the future is going to look like? Because I don't want to be there then.
Right.
No,
thank you.
Yeah, it's like this looks like something out of a porno movie. I'm sorry to say that,
it does, and not a good one.
No, yeah,
low budget.
It's like, did you buy the wrong size?
That's what it looked like. That's exactly what it looked like to me. So as she's getting ready, out pops a hand, a green webbed amphibious looking hand. And this alien has stowed away on this damn shuttle.
Can I say this? I wrote, notice how the creature blends in with the ship's interiors, even in the big ship. And it's sort of like it's all sort of, you really don't notice it until you start looking for the odd shape. Instead of angles and stuff, you look for a smooth cylindrical or, a smooth curve or something. And then but otherwise,
a banana head.
Yeah, it sort of blends in, even even the color, it's sort of a metallic gray.
Yeah.
So
that like dark, shiny.
So it was, it adapts to its environment, evidently.
Yeah. But yeah, out pops the hand and she's like, oh God. So she scurries away. I wrote, it's stowed away on the shuttle, that fucker.
And I said, and just when you thought it was over.
Exactly. So she's like hiding in like basically a closet. The thing, I don't know if like this part I was unclear on, like, it didn't seem like it saw her.
That's what I thought for some reason, because it looked like it was kind of like almost like going to hibernate or something.
Right. Like it was just, again, this made me laugh a little bit too. It was cramped. It was sort of cramped, like under something. And it was almost like it was just like adjusting its position. And that's when she saw its hand. Like it wasn't trying to get her. It was just like, oh, dang it. I'm just squeezed in here. Let me move around a little bit before we go to sleep.
Let me get myself comfy.
Exactly. Because it was like sort of like, think of like, to describe it for people who haven't seen it, imagine it's almost like there's like cabinets above and like a console below. And it's kind of like, it's laying horizontally like in the space between them.
Right, exactly. It's almost like a little alcove or something.
Yeah, it's just like squeezed into an alcove, and like she sees it and it's almost like it does not see her.
Right. And it doesn't see her or sense her when she scurries, like you said, into the little closet thing.
Yes.
And we were talking about how claustrophobic the movie can get. Like when
Mm-hmm.
Dallas was in the chamber, the
Yeah.
the air
In
ducts,
the air
that was
ducts.
small because he
Mm-hmm.
couldn't stand up. He was creeped.
Yeah.
And then now she's in this tiny, small, like you said, like a little closet,
Yeah. And they're on the shuttle itself isn't even
which
very
is
big.
small. Yeah, exactly. So it's even
Yeah.
smaller
It's like
than
the spaces that they're in like feel like they get smaller and
smaller.
smaller. The closet she's hiding in has some spacesuits. And as she's in there, she gets a little light bulb and she's like, okay, resuming plan to blast this mofo out into space.
And I actually thought this was genius because she's like
Hmm.
sitting there going, because, again, once again, I would have either like, soiled myself at this point or had a heart attack and died.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking I'm on this little tiny ship and this son of a bitch is right here.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah. I would have blasted myself into space and been like, good luck, Jonesy. You've survived this far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye.
So far, you're the smartest one out of all of us.
Yeah. But yeah, this is when I was like, is it sleeping? Like,
Yeah, is yeah, like I said, is it going into hibernation or something? Is it, but I thought, and this was good too. I thought where Ripley, sort of, very carefully, quietly
yeah,
climbs into the spacesuit.
climbs into the spacesuit. Then she goes out and she's, pressing the buttons to open the hatch to
Just
let
happened to
it.
have a harpoon gun.
And
Why didn't
then,
they have that on the regular ship?
good question. Again, the weapons seem very ragtag.
I know. It's
Uh,
like, oh, I have a cricket bat and a baseball bat, or in a
yeah.
crowbar.
Empty your pockets, people. What do you have? It's like in Anchorman when they have the fights and they all just show up. I have brass knuckles. I have like a billy club. Okay, I have a mace. I have a trident. It's like that's the weapons they have. It's just like whatever.
Yeah, just random.
No rhyme or reason. So I also wrote here, this is you can also see its little mouth come out. And I was like, why does it have this little mouth?
It's like a mouth inside the mouth.
A
It's
mouth
kind of.
inside a mouth, which
I
I also
know.
realize has definitely been referenced on SpongeBob before. It's been referenced in like cartoons I watched growing
Oh,
up,
I'm sure. Yeah.
which I
So,
never like someone would like open their mouth and then another
and
little
there's
mouth would
another
come
little
out,
mouth coming out.
which I never really understood, but now it's this and I'm just like, why does it have an extra little mouth? It has like a little silver mouth that comes out of its big mouth.
Yeah,
What
it's
if it
like the
just kept
worst.
getting smaller?
It looks like Jaws from the James Bond
From
movie.
James Bond? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or
Yeah,
like wait, when
yeah,
you get a cast of your teeth, they make like
yeah.
a model. It looks like that,
Uh-huh.
but silver.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Or
it's
really
just
bad Russian dental work.
yeah. What if it just had like progressively smaller mouths?
And
Just teeny tiny ones. But anyway, she's doing all this and she keeps going. I don't know if this is like a reference. She just keeps going, you are my lucky star. You are
yeah,
my lucky star.
I don't know what that. I don't know if that was a mantra that she kept repeating to herself or what.
Yeah, because
I don't.
we never heard that
We.
before.
I was going to say I never remember hearing that before in the movie. Did you?
Yeah. No, I wonder if there's
Okay.
like backstory that they cut out or something, but she just keeps going, you are my lucky star.
I
You
don't
are
know.
my lucky star. But anyway, she like gets it out of the compartment.
Yeah, because it seems kind of reluctant to even get out of there.
It's
It's
like,
like,
I just got comfortable.
I, but every other time it's like, like Johnny on the spot to eat people or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm tired.
I thought I was just gonna like lay here for the journey, and
Right?
you made me get up.
Now I guess I gotta come and get you.
Now I have to come eat you. So she flushes it out, and it's Big Banana Head.
Hmm.
Um, and she opens the door. Like literally, it's like about to get her, and she opens the door like just in time,
Yeah,
and it gets kind of
the
stuck.
airlocky thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she opens
yeah.
the airlock, and it gets
And
like pulled, but it's hanging on. It's got a lot of appendages. It's hanging on.
yeah.
And that's when she shoots it with the harpoon gun. Then she accelerates the ship. She's like, I'm shooting you and I'm going to gun it so that it has to separate from the ship, at high velocity. So she finally truly has escaped it. Finally, we can take a
By the way,
calming breath.
the cheers broke out again in the movie theater at this point because now
Yes. Okay, now the real ones. Now the real.
but it wasn't as loud, I remember, because
Yeah.
I think people were thinking, son of a bitch is going to be still outside that ship.
It's hanging on the outside.
Yeah.
Now everyone's worried.
Yeah, that when it
We don't want
lands,
to be
it's going to
lulled
be
into
like it's going to be waiting on her, like
yeah. We don't want to be lulled into a false sense of security again.
yeah, but yeah, because people are going, wait a minute, it's not over
Ugh.
yet.
Well, now I don't trust it.
Yeah.
Um, but she does her final log. She basically is like, I'm Ripley. I was on the Nostromus. Everybody's dead.
Hmm.
I'm the only one left. I'm
Me and
coming home.
Jonesy.
Yeah, me and the cat. Uh, hopefully somebody will pick us up when we get back to civilization.
Well, she talked about we'll be in the frontier, in like
Yeah,
6 weeks or whatever, that reference to. So,
yeah.
uh, and yeah, and then goes to sleep in her little tiny,
In
sleeping.
her little pod, yeah. Her and Jonesy go into stasis for the rest of the journey, and that is the end.
Finally, Jesus, it's
I
like it's
know.
like I know, like
It's like the end of Lord of the Rings: Return of the King when it fades
hmm
to black like 4 times,
yeah.
and you're like, "Oh, it's over," and then it's like, "Ah, damn, no, it's not."
No, it's not. There's
I
still
had to
something
piece.
else.
I remember like it was yesterday. That movie was almost 4 hours long, and I would not get up to go to the bathroom, and I kept being like, "Oh,
Oh,
finally!" And then I was
you-
like, "God,
you're
finally,
you're a
nope."
braver man than I.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I was like 14 at the time, so I was like, I could handle it.
mm,
I
you're
probably also didn't drink a lot of water at the time,
oh.
so I was just like, just powered through. But yeah, no, that false sense of like, oh, thank God, it's over, and then it's like, God, it's not.
No, it's still there. So,
But
but
yeah,
and Ripley, and I put Ripley badass to the max.
for sure, for sure. And guess what? If people had listened to her, obviously, again, we know why Ash didn't listen to her. But
Hmm.
like, if Dallas had listened, if anyone else had listened to her from the beginning, all this
None of
wouldn't have
this would,
happened.
if they'd have followed protocol, if they'd followed
Yes.
orders.
Follow protocol and listen to women.
Although they, she wasn't going to let him on the ship, but Ash was down there and opened the hatch. So it was like, I guess whatever he had some sort of override thing. So he wasn't going to listen to her anyway
Hmm.
because he wasn't real.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, if yeah, so she well, or if between her and Lambert, they both had the right idea. Let's just get the hell out of here,
Exactly.
and we
Yeah.
don't need to be doing this shit.
Hmm. It's funny because obviously we get the explanation of why Ash was doing everything he did. But also, if it was just like he's just ignoring Ripley because she's a woman, also believable.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Dallas didn't really, put a lot of stock in her, and
Hmm.
well, she was third in command behind him
Hmm.
and Kane.
Yeah, because there were times when she was trying to talk to him about like,
Yeah,
you
and
should not have let Ash bring him on here. Like, right, she had to like close the door to make him stop trying to walk away from her when she
right,
was trying to talk to him. So like ignoring a woman, like, of course.
especially one
Again.
who has the title,
Yeah.
has the position, but
And
yeah,
she has clearly like read up, like she knows that there was a warning. Like she knew that it was dangerous.
and she
Obviously it
was
was too
smart.
late. But yeah, she's putting two and two together. She knows the
Hmm.
rules. She knows what's up.
Yep. She knows what's to be done, what the
Hmm.
procedures are,
She has some knowledge of like the engineering aspect of things
Sure.
and like the functioning of the ship.
Yeah, because she even said, she goes, I thought you guys fixed this. It's like,
Yeah, and she was the one who was like, we shouldn't leave yet because like we fixed the bare minimum stuff, but like X, Y, and
hmm
Z still needs to be fixed. Like we don't have any visuals on levels like B and C, whatever.
right.
What a tense movie. I
It,
think
it
I felt it like the tone of it felt very like thriller-y because there are some like jumping scare moments, obviously, but the overwhelming feeling was like dread, suspense,
suspense.
tension.
Exactly. And I think that's what made the movie, so iconic. It is,
Hmm.
just the it wasn't great special effects. The storyline is the same as it's an unknown creature or whatever, or it could be a serial killer. It could have been anything. It just happened to be an alien, but it was so well done. The pacing was well done. The direction was well done, and
Hmm.
every person delivered on in their role. I thought.
Yeah,
To
agreed.
Ian Holm was I thought was excellent in this movie
Mm-hmm.
because you hated him, and then when you
Yeah.
found out he was a fucking robot,
First
it
of all, it
was
all
like,
made sense because you're like,
it,
wow, there is nothing behind those eyes.
right, yeah, and he was just, he was
Cold.
following his protocol, what he was instructed to do. So,
And
but
even
yeah,
cold when he was just a head on the table. Oof.
but like you said, like when he delivered that line, it wasn't like he was,
You have my sympathies. I was
yeah,
like, ooh,
oh, I know, yeah, like,
little
ooh,
chill.
yeah, because he could have just said, none of you are going to live. Goodbye.
Hmm.
But no, it's like, you have my
He was
sympathies.
like, let
Yeah.
me deliver this.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So let me clue you in, people.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the movie?
Yeah, I think that I was entertained by it. And,
Okay.
even knowing some of like the things, right? Like the chest burst thing was not a surprise to me, but it's still like in the context of it, it's still like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh, I know.
it's still like jarring.
Hmm.
But yeah, I can see why this is kind of a classic in the
I think it's
genre.
in then they put it in the National
Like the library, the film registry.
Film Registry, I
I
think.
think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. I think they rated it as one of the best science fiction movies of all time. But
Hmm.
I think it's in one of the 100 greatest movies of all time, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah.
So,
No, I can see that for sure. But yeah, I think the performances were all really good. I think it's a simple story, right? Like it's a similar story to Jaws,
hmm,
right? There's like a thing that's killing people. Again, obviously we have the element of like Ash as a
right.
sort
As
of
a,
aiding and abetting
hmm,
kind of villain. But I think that also feels like real too. Like if someone, like if someone in Jaws had been like, oh no, like I just want to study the shark. Like I don't care what happens, but like
yeah, yeah,
we're just trying to see what happens. We've released the shark and we're just trying to like figure it out. So like yeah,
yeah.
the evil corporate entity who just wants like profit and power and stuff at
I
the
kind
expense
of,
of the people.
I kind of like that theme that, and it was
Hmm.
just referred to as the company,
The company.
so it wasn't even like a brand name or anything. It's just the
Hmm.
company. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. So
uh,
I think that like rings true as like a theme, especially in like science fiction, right? Because I think in
mhm,
science fiction it's always like, oh, like this bit like right, like Terminator, it's like a similar thing, right? Like
mhm,
this thing has gone like too far. This company, this
right.
entity, this government, whatever has gone like too far
And
is always the thing.
have you ever seen Rollerball with James Caan? Where
I've seen like parts of it. I've not watched the whole thing.
so that's how, and in this story, the teams are owned by, by cities and so on, but
Mhm.
it's like the companies that run the world. It's like, they're not brand names. It's like power, transportation. That's
Mm.
what they're called. It's like,
Hmm.
we, Power owns the Houston, whatever it is. So, but it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, sort of like that nameless, all encompassing,
Hmm.
entity of pure corruption. Really, it's just,
Yeah.
because they designed that's how everything is run. It's all run for profit. So,
Yeah, right? Like, oh, this thing is going to
mhm,
kill a bunch of people. It's going to kill the people that work for us and potentially a bunch of people here, but
we want it.
we want it because we could use it for something.
Right. If we figure out how to make something from it, like either, make it into a warrior or use its blood for, whatever, study that, or
Hmm.
yeah. So
We got this guy named Predator here that we got to get rid of.
yeah, exactly. So,
Just kidding. I have
which
not watched Alien versus Predator. I don't know what the
I've
plot is
watched
of
a
that.
couple of them actually. So yeah. So, but yeah. So like I said, this to me, this was the precursor for a couple of things. It followed a couple of years after Star Wars. So and I think Star Wars sort of even set the tone for studios to do big budget science
Hmm.
fiction movies.
Hmm.
Had a great cast.
Yeah.
Again, the special effects were nothing to write home about, but they were pretty realistic because it wasn't CGI. It was all done
Hmm.
with puppets, or not animatronics even, but just
That's a guy in the suit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was reading, it's just like Ridley Scott saw like a really tall guy at a
And he's
bar.
a really skinny
Yeah,
guy,
like a like 6'10" skinny dude, and was like, "Hey."
and they said that no one would ever believe that that was a real person inside that suit
Yeah.
because of the way he looked. And I didn't think it was a real person at first.
Mm-mm.
I didn't know how they did it. And then later on you read, oh yeah, that was a person inside of a suit.
You just imagine you're just like a tall, skinny guy in a bar,
Oh my
and
God.
someone comes up to you and is like, "You ever thought about being an alien?"
Well, think of the guy who played Chewbacca,
Yeah, that's true.
so
That's true.
um, a shout out also to the designer of the alien and some of the sets, H.R. Geiger,
Okay.
who they said that they looked at some of his things and that's what sort of set the vision for the alien creature, but they found his work very disturbing.
Mm.
And if you ever study any of his work, I looked at there's a couple of books out with his stuff that he did, but he's the one that he had done some odd drawings and so on and so forth, but that
Mm-hmm.
then he's designed the alien. It went through a couple of different, you know, uh, runs or whatever. But yeah, so but
Oh yeah.
H.R. Geiger is the guy that whose vision was behind the monster, the alien, and the interior of the alien ship, where it almost looks organic. It's almost, when you look at the inside of that alien ship,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like ribs an interior skeletal structure system as opposed to something that's man-made. So,
Yeah. It's so interesting. I'm looking at like the thing about the egg you were talking about,
mhm,
and the top of the egg was hydraulic and the innards were a cow's stomach and tripe. Didn't I say it looked like a looked like
mhm,
an endoscopy?
yeah.
Um,
When they pull up the dead thing, the face hugger, they
mhm.
said that I think they used like pieces of fish or something, because when he's poking around at it, like to see what it is when it's dead,
Mhm.
and I said, man, that's the grossest thing ever. I wrote down, but yeah, that was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
fish and shellfish.
shellfish, yeah, because it did it. It sort of looked like if you open up an oyster, you
Yeah.
take, yeah,
And when it shoots out of the egg, it's sheep intestine is the
perfect,
proboscis.
perfect.
Ooh.
Mhm. So yeah, but like you
It's
said,
so
practical stuff.
yeah, it's so interesting. It's so interesting, like what inspired this. The design of the chest burster was inspired by Francis Bacon's 1944 painting, Three Studies for Figures at the Base of a Crucifixion.
Perfect. It also explains when they find the first big alien guy in the chair where his chest is burst out
Yeah.
from inside. So now we
Mhm.
know. Now we know what happened to him.
Yes.
Uh,
I also wanted to shout out to the writer, Dan O'Bannon, and
mm-hmm.
Ronald Shusett wrote a story that was the story of this, and then Dan O'Bannon wrote the screenplay.
Oh, okay.
So he wrote. It seems like he did a lot of sort of sci-fi and horror. He wrote Return of the Living Dead, Total
Oh,
Recall,
oh, that's a good story. That's a good movie.
Dead and Buried, Blue Thunder, Dark Star. I haven't heard of those, but
Dark Star is excellent. That's kind of a cult classic. And
oh
Blue
yeah.
Thunder is the Roy Scheider movie about the police helicopter.
Okay. But yeah, so he wrote this, but yeah, so this was a lot of his vision. I think he was the one who introduced Ridley Scott to those H.R. Geiger's
Oh, okay. To his designs,
drawings.
drawings. So,
Yeah, so that they could kind of get an idea of the design. It's so interesting to see like what like the Ash stuff.
mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. For the scene in which Ash is revealed to be an android, a puppet was created of the character's torso and upper body, which was operated from underneath. During a preview screening of the film, this scene causes an usher to faint. Milk, caviar, pasta, fiber optics, and Foley urinary catheters were combined to form the android's innards. So all those little tubes are catheters.
How'd you like to have been the person that put that together? Hey, by the way, we want you to build the inside of an android, and that
Right.
and the guy goes, "Oh, all right. What do I do? How do I do this?" I thought
Well,
it was very imaginative.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that like it again, it just shows sort of the ingenuity of when you have to do practical things, right?
Well,
Like you
yeah.
figure it out, right? And I think it's the same like with Jaws, right? Like, okay, this robot shark we built is not working. So like
Hmm.
what do we have to do? And then it turns out to be like cooler that you don't see it.
Yeah. I did read also that when they first pitched the movie, they had a budget set and they approached, I think, a couple of different directors, or they wanted somebody else, and then they didn't want to do it. And then they asked Ridley Scott, who had done, like you said, The Duelist, and he storyboarded evidently the whole thing, and then did a pitch to because the studios didn't really want to do things like this. And then after Star Wars became, exists, but evidently after his pitch, they doubled the budget.
Mm.
So it was like, and Tom Skerritt at first wasn't going to do it because they couldn't pay it what he wanted. But then after they doubled the budget, they were able to come up with his salary. So he said, yeah, he'd do it.
Oh yeah, I think I remember reading that.
Yeah. So, and Ripley was she was only I think 28 years old at the time. So
Yeah, I think this was like one of her
first
first her
I
first
think
movie.
I think it was her first movie. Yeah.
Mm.
So in a really with a breakout role.
It kind of makes me want to watch Aliens now. Isn't that the one she's in that big like the big robot thing?
So I was going to say, so for those who are fans of the franchise, and this is just my opinion, Aliens is actually a better movie.
Mm.
As far as the plot, the special effects are much better. There's a lot going on. She's great in it, but
Yeah.
this one I picked only because it was the first.
It's yeah. Is that the one too where it's like really close to her face? There's like that scene of her like,
yeah,
like breathing hard when it like
mm,
is like coming right by her.
right, and that it's sort of it's a continuation of the story too, and it's very well done. So if I had to pick one out of the franchise, it would be Aliens. To me, is the better of any of the movies. But since this one was the original,
it's the first one, yeah.
Yeah, so it introduced the whole premise.
But yeah, no, well, now I feel like I have to watch that one.
I think you
is that the one where she says, "Get away from her, you bitch"?
Yep, and she's in this like big armor thing that
yeah, that like exoskeleton,
yeah, like exactly
robot thing.
And again, the special effects are so much better.
I did appreciate also that she did call it a bitch, and then she was like, "You bitch."
Oh yeah, because it's it's there's just a lot of undertones to it, and there's a backstory behind the whole thing. So, but yeah, so the rest of them, and they're okay. 3 and 4, they're all right. But
yeah, and then now we're in like the prequels. There's like Prometheus, and then
although I will say I enjoyed Prometheus.
Then there was another one after Prometheus,
The Covenant.
The Covenant, and then the next one is like Romulus or something like
that. Yeah. So, but I did enjoy Prometheus. Again, I thought it had a really good cast that was in it, and the storyline was good, and it sort of explained. Yeah, it was a prequel to the original Alien. So yeah. So well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad it wasn't too off-putting or too crazy, scary, ridiculous. But like you said, it has it's the suspense.
Yeah. I found a quote from Ridley Scott that I want to read because I think this sums it up well. He said, "I've never liked horror films before because in the end, it's always been a man in a rubber suit. Well, there's one way to deal with that. The most important thing in a film of this type is not what you see, but the effect of what you think you saw." Yeah. So, it's talking about like how he chose not to show the full alien. And he also said every movement is going to be very slow, very graceful, and the alien will alter shape. So you never really know exactly what he looks like, which I think is something I appreciated about this. Like, I think so the alien itself, like, it's scary, right? It's jumping out, it's killing people. It's like a big, scary head and 2 mouths and all that. But like, it is scarier when you don't see it, when you're just waiting for it.
And I never thought you really don't see the whole thing.
You see like parts of it.
Parts of it, but in any given frame, you never get an idea of really how big it is or how,
right.
Yeah. So,
and I think that's what they're saying. Like every time you see it, you either see, obviously it looks different, right? So we see like the face hugger and then the chest burster thing. But even when it's like full grown, every time you see it, it's like a different like part of it, a different view, right? Like it lowers down or it like pops, like the hands come. You know what I mean? Like or
you see the tail thing, like you said, where it
see
impales.
the tail, you see the mouth, like you see like a different part of it each time. You never see it in this movie, at least. I don't know if maybe in the other ones you don't like see it.
You do in the second one. So which like I said, maybe the special effects budget was a lot better, but there was a lot more to it.
And I mean, at that point you've seen it, so there's not the same suspense of like building up to seeing it, like if you've already seen it. Right. You don't even really see, the only time you see it, like the full body is like when it's at the very end, when it's being blasted out. and
Right.
you see it like grabbing.
Hmm.
That's when you see kind of the full extent
And even
of
then,
its body.
you're far
You're
enough away
far
from it.
away.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's sort of blurred by the exhaust from the jet engine,
Yeah.
because it's like, she's cooking it, evident, or to a degree,
Yeah.
because even then at the end of it, like it's sort of like trying to climb back up that damn wire, from
Mm-hmm.
the harpoon gun to get back
Yeah.
into the ship. It's like,
That's why
really?
she had to gun it. She was like, get off my damn ship. But yeah, like I think you don't really, you just see like a different piece of it every time.
Hmm.
And I will also say, like, I am a person who, like, I laugh at a lot of things. So that helps me make it not scary. It's like in Harry Potter when they do the spell ridiculous to like make whatever you're scared of, like,
Uh-huh.
silly.
Hmm.
That's how I cope. So I was like, its head looks like a banana. It's very ugly. Why is it folded up in this little compartment? It looks so silly. Jazz hands like that.
Uh-huh.
All those things. It makes it easier for me to not be scared of it. That's the benefit of like being in 2024 watching movies that were made in the 70s. I can be like, oh, silly, and not be
And
scared.
you talked about it a little bit earlier on in our podcast that, you and I just saw a
Quiet Place
movie,
Day One.
A
Yes.
Quiet Place Day, which
Aliens and Cats.
Aliens and Cats, 45 years apart, and which I would recommend A Quiet Place
Mm-hmm.
Day One, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Casting was excellent. The pace of the movie it was like
Mm-hmm.
this, but it's very suspenseful and so
Yeah.
on.
And I
Uh,
think like the story is good too, because ultimately it's about like people, right? Like all
mhm.
these movies are ultimately like
About
about
relationships,
people.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but yeah, but I thought this movie was made in 1979, and then we just saw a movie made in 2024. They're all those years apart, but they're very similar in the storyline, and then some of the similarities in what happens in the plot and everything. So
Yeah, yeah. And it's so funny. Like we just saw it.
just saw it this past weekend. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
So it is funny that
yeah, so
this it lined up this way, but it did. I
what
like
a
couldn't help but think of it when I was watching this. Like
kind of a
again,
good double feature.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, and again, I don't think that franchise would exist without
Without
this
this. So
at
maybe
all.
that'll be our cats and creatures.
Cats and creatures. There we go.
Common theme. That'd be a good Jeopardy category.
It would be. We should write in. But yeah, that I'll include that in the description. Cats and creatures. But yeah, I think that we'd spend some time trying to wrangle a cat in
Yeah.
both these movies
Hmm.
at risk of our lives.
The cat is evidently very important to the characters in the movie, much more so than some people are.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, and then there's these creatures. I mean, the creatures in A Quiet Place, there's less of them like lurking. There's
Mhm.
less of the, you know, they're going to come, but you just don't know when there's going to be a sound
Right.
to prompt them to come. That's all. That's the tension there,
And
right? Like they're very big and
yeah,
very like boom, boom, boom,
and,
boom, boom, boom,
and they're
boom.
very fast and
Yeah,
very, very and loud. But in both movies too, the cat survives.
the cat survives. Spoiler alert, everyone,
Yeah.
but a positive spoiler. I had to actually I looked that up before we saw A Quiet Place Day One, and there were a lot of results. So lots of people were like, "Does the cat survive in a quiet?" People were like, "I need to know that this cat lives before I go see this
Before I go see
movie."
the movie, right? Before I
And
go.
it does. Although that cat has to spend some time in water. That poor cat.
Oh,
That
it
was a
was
very
well.
chill cat because it was
It,
underwater multiple times.
and for those of you who have cats, you'll be amazed at the things this cat
This cat
can
is an
do.
amazing actor.
It is, yeah. I think it is there an award for pets in movies? I think there
I don't
is,
know,
isn't
but
there?
I'm like a Lassie Award. There should be if
Something.
there isn't.
I thought there would. I don't know. There should be.
There
So
should be. Yeah. So
once
shout
again,
out
the
to
Academy
those
needs to listen to us.
two cats. Also, the cat's name is the name of the not the actor cat, but the in the movie, the A Quiet Place. His name is Frodo,
Mhm.
which I love because its owner is named Sam. Taking it back to Lord of the Rings,
Exactly.
which I really loved. So I think people should watch that movie for sure.
I
I think
agree.
it's really good
Think
because
that.
I think also like the fact that it takes place in New York City is like a big thing,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's just like imagine New York City being quiet.
yeah, or trying to be quiet in New York City with everything
Hmm.
else going on around. You're trying to be quiet, but then there's everything else that's not right
Yeah.
next to you making noise.
Yeah.
So
Oh my God. Even just the part when like too many people were walking. I was like,
any
ugh.
so but yeah, another good cat and creature movie.
Yes. Yes.
CNC.
For
So
sure. And if you're someone like me who doesn't love scary movies, I think these are not as bad because it's like it's a little bit more like action thriller
hmm
kind of thing. There's like things that make you jump, but there's not. I guess everybody has their flavors of scary things they can handle. If
yeah,
you are like me and you don't like a haunting spirit, ghost, possession, ooky spooky, then these are good. You should watch the Alien movies. If you don't like big loud aliens, then maybe don't watch
yeah,
them.
maybe
But
not watch, yeah, or if
um,
you're not a science fiction fan.
yeah,
So, but the
yeah,
story could take place anywhere, and it could be anything. So it's just
exactly. Like we said, I think it's a similar thing to like Jaws.
Jaws
There's even moments. I don't know why. I think it's because I watched this recently. I watched Air Force One recently. I think they were playing it on 4th of July. But like it
yeah,
just made me think of like when Harrison Ford is like sneaking around on like the
mhm,
lower level of Air Force One and you're just like waiting for one of the terrorists to come around the corner. It's
right,
like still like it's a similar feeling. It's just an
yeah.
alien and not Gary Oldman.
Yeah, exactly. And you're on an enclosed space, or
Hmm.
something that's not very safe to
You're in an
be.
enclosed space with something or someone that's trying to kill you.
Kill you. Yeah. So could be,
And you're trying to figure out how to get out. Because also you can't just open the door because you're either in space or up in the air.
right. Yeah.
That's the other.
So
So you can't leave,
hmm
but you want them to leave before
right.
they kill you.
And
Figure that out.
you got to get them off
Right.
the method of what the transportation that you're on. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um,
And also like an Air Force One, you got a double agent.
there you go.
You have someone that is actively trying to undermine that effort.
So you got two strikes against you.
Exactly. Air Force One, they have a fax machine. Alien, they have Mother.
Top
Um,
notch technology. So
Oh yeah. But
uh,
yeah, I also think that you mentioned earlier Ripley being like the woman. You know, I think in horror movies the final girl is a thing that's common, but I think often they're sort of like young and innocent is what spares them kind of as
right.
the final girl, and I think Ripley is like badass. Like Ripley is fighting
Yeah.
in a way that maybe is not the
And
case in like all horror movie final girls. And I also think she then sets the stage for like future ones, like a
exactly. Yeah.
Nancy and Nightmare on Elm Street, like a Sydney and Scream, who are like fighting. Like
hmm
I'm not just like a little like, oh no, but like if you're trying to kill me, I'm gonna try to kill you.
And that night, she starts from a position of authority. Now she's not
Mm-hmm.
first in command, but she's in the command chain. And
Mm-hmm.
then they selected her because she was good at what she did, and she earned that position. It wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
she was a token, or oh, we got to have a woman or whatever. It never came across to me that way. Her and Angela Cartwright's character, both, they were Lambert. They were both there
Mm-hmm.
because they were good at what they did.
Yeah, they were skilled, right?
They were
Like Lambert was
yeah.
the navigator. That's a very important job.
Exactly. Like, without Lambert, you guys would just be wandering around in
Floating in
circles.
space.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, I think we're out of gas. We didn't make
Right.
it. So,
She's the one who's like figuring out the way back to Earth.
right. They talk about, like the woman being, the prime character or the main character. And I think Ripley was sort of, there were others before her, but I think this was like the real big action thing
Mm-hmm.
where she sort of, took that role. It was, Dallas was, he was toast, like, right away. And
Yeah.
then, she's the one that figured out how to get things
Yeah,
done.
he only lasted like a little more than halfway through the movie.
Halfway through the movie. Yeah. So, yeah. So the number one and the number two guys who were supposed to be in charge and smart, they both died
Boom,
quickly.
boom.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, so,
Yeah, no, for
well,
sure. And I think that's a contrast to like the other movies we're comparing it to. Like when we talk about Star Wars and we talk about
hmm
Jaws, it's like a guy is the one left, right?
yeah.
I mean, obviously, like in Star Wars, you have Princess Leia, but she like in the first one, she's like getting rescued.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
So she's not really like the agent of what's happening. Really, it's Luke. Luke is
mhm,
making things happen.
yeah, Luke and Han, but and
Yeah.
it's the same way even
And
in the
Luke, takes the shot that blows up the Death Star.
right.
I'm sorry, spoiler if you've not seen the first Star Wars movie. I hope the rock you're living under is very comfortable.
Or that your life of solitude has been fulfilling to
Right.
you.
Yeah.
So
But
exactly.
yeah, I think that's a contrast from like some of
Hmm.
those big movies.
Or that the woman's always a victim,
Yes.
as opposed
Yes.
to the hero.
Yeah,
She
and
was,
even the other woman that dies, she's the last one to die,
and she goes down fighting.
Lambert. Yes.
She's not like just taken like just
Yeah.
yeah.
All the other dudes before Lambert and Parker, they were just getting snatched up.
Hmm. Yeah.
Or Kane got face sucked, but
Well,
face sucked and chest bursted. But it happened quickly to them,
yeah.
right? There was no
Yeah.
fighting back.
Hmm.
But Lambert and Parker were like, "Oh no,
Oh no, we're going down. If we're going in a
yeah,
fight.
I'm gonna nick you a little bit.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm gonna leave you with a bruise.
You're gonna remember this one.
Hmm.
So and
We're gonna make it difficult for you at least."
so but well I'm glad you enjoyed the movie because again it was a an eventful movie for me, for a couple of reasons, but just I remember seeing it on the big screen and it coming out, and it was so much different from Star Wars. That was
Yeah.
the other thing. Star Wars was what they called a space opera and stuff.
Right, right. Star Wars is like a battle of good and evil and like
Yeah,
that kind of thing. And
yeah,
this is
like
like you're being hunted in space. Isn't that was
right.
this the in space no one can hear you scream?
No one
Is
can
this
hear you
the
scream. That's what yeah, that was the tagline for the movie.
and with
So,
the egg on the
mhm.
poster, except it's a real egg. It's like a hen's egg.
Sort of, kind of, yeah. So
It's
yeah,
like a
but it
chicken.
has,
I
but it's
read,
glowing.
yeah, they were like they use like hen's eggs for like promo shots, and then it kind of stayed in the so like the egg in the poster is not what the eggs look like in the movie.
Not at all. Yeah,
Because they
no,
like they kept like the chicken egg. They like
yeah,
colored it, whatever. But like if that's a chicken egg, that's not
yeah.
the alien eggs.
No, it doesn't. No, and they're a little bit different in the other movies. They
Yeah.
all sort of take on a little bit different shape and stuff.
Yeah.
But
The budget, like you said.
exactly, the budget got better, the special effects got better. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, this was I think another like iconic movie I had not seen. Now I can kind of check off the list.
well,
So
good.
thank you for picking this. I can definitely see why it sort of holds that space in cinema and why Ridley Scott is still around, even though he makes some goofy movies like House of Gucci. Watch Alien and then House of Gucci. Do that as your double feature.
What is he doing? A new Gladiator movie?
Yeah, he did the new Gladiator.
Come on, if you haven't seen, that, and he's done some TV shows too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He does TV as well. So, but yeah, he's got his hand in a lot of things. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, I always think of him as the big movie guy. The big action scenes, the
Yes.
big screen stuff. It really
Yes.
it really pays to
Epics.
see that. Yeah.
Gladiator, Robin Hood, Exodus Gods and Kings, Black Hawk Down, Blade Runner. Like these are all like big
Hmm.
things are happening here.
And they're really best seen on the big screen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I can only imagine seeing this movie like with no prior knowledge of it
Yeah,
on a big
on a
screen.
big screen, like I
I
said,
would I would have a heart attack. I would have a heart attack watching this.
the chess scene, that and that in the scene where Dallas is in the air shaft.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah, and I think
because that
too, the scene
that
with Ash, the scene where you find out Ash
oh
is an
yeah,
android,
yeah.
also has to be like,
Hmm.
huh.
It's very intense. Yeah, especially
Honestly,
when
even just when the face hugger like jumps out onto Kane's face,
oh yeah, yeah.
like, whoa, God.
Yeah. But it's the time in between those moments that really
Hmm.
builds up to that.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Otherwise, you
that's
just
always the
get numb
thing,
to it. If it just happened all the
right?
time, yeah, it was just you
Because it's
just
just like,
become
what is happening,
yeah. Or when is it going to happen? Yeah,
right?
not only what but when. And is it is it going to be now? Oh no, it's going to be now. No, it's going to be now.
Hmm.
It's like oh my God, you're like you're on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I didn't get a date out of the movie, but I did enjoy the movie when I first saw it at the movie theater. Thought I was going to step in and take some guy's place who ran out after being freaked out by the chess scene.
Hmm.
Oh
Hmm.
well.
Well, What a movie.
Yeah. So glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching it. And then I'm glad that I think if you haven't seen the movie, please, by all means, watch the movie.
Yeah. Well, I think we have covered all things Alien.
I think so.
So thank you everyone for joining us. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can leave us a review, comments, hopefully something very nice. You can also follow us on Instagram at Some of Our Parts Pod. You can see all the other movies that we've talked about. We are really running the gamut here and get some clues on what's coming next. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Take care.